Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. Thank you for being here. We begin at this hour with new details from the Coeur d'Alene Police Department after Friday's deadly shooting where a suspected car burglar was shot by an armed citizen.
The alleged car burglar died as a result. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk joining us now with what he has learned.
Coeur d'Alene police have identified the armed man as 74-year-old James Dean of Priest River. Police say Dean and his wife were walking back to their truck in the Michaels parking lot when they saw 30-year-old Shane Brown of Sandpoint inside their pickup. He appeared to be robbing the vehicle. Police say the 74-year-old confronted Brown and pulled out a handgun. At that point, Brown got out of the truck and into a separate vehicle. According to police, Dean stood in front of that car and Brown accelerated toward him. Dean ended up on the hood and fired several shots, hitting the 30-year-old who died at the scene. Dean was taken to the hospital with injuries. At this point, we don't know his condition or if he's been released. Police say once their investigation wraps up, the case will be forwarded to the county prosecutor and they will decide if this armed citizen will face any charges. Reporting in Coeur d'Alene, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
All right, switching gears to talk weather. Rain returned to the area over the weekend and continued into today as a flood watch is now in effect for parts of the inland northwest right now.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not going to be just a little bit of rain. We want to talk to our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Lagu, now to find out just what's headed this way.
Oh, a whole lot of rain. You're right about that. And we've got everything in place to see the better part of a half an inch of rain, pretty widespread across much of the inland northwest. More in some places, of course, less in others. Right now, pretty warm, but you can see, notice the smoke from this. I would assume that is just a chimney just kind of hanging low down near the ground. We've got some of that low atmospheric moisture and just a weather pattern that's going to kind of allow that to sink. So that remains the case. But things are eventually going to start to shift. We do have that flood watch in effect through tomorrow. Keep in mind that is through tomorrow because that heavy rain, although it ends earlier in the day, we are going to see the effects of that as all of it runs down the hills and mountains. It melts snow and it causes rises in rivers, creeks, streams, and even some flooding in low-lying or poor drainage areas. You can see that tap of moisture from off the coast, and that's just streaming in. Already dumping heavy rain in parts of central Washington and northeast Washington. We'll continue to watch that rain fall. I think it gets heavier as we head into the evening. By the 10 o'clock hour, it's here in Spokane, spreads its way through, comes to an end for us early in the day tomorrow, but then scattered showers persist through the afternoon. With a mix of clouds and sun, cool air overhead, we will see the potential for some rumbles of thunder with some of those scattered showers tomorrow afternoon, so keep that in mind. Breezy is the name of the game, though. We'll see those wind gusts persist throughout the day. Might even see some up near 40 miles per hour, so it is a bit windy. Isolated showers and cooler come Wednesday and Thursday. The sun returns.
Ooh, looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Well, the abortion pill mifepristone is due to be pulled off of pharmacy shelves by Friday unless the courts issue a stay preventing a judge's order from taking effect. This could set up a potential legal fight, which could go all the way to the Supreme Court. The Department of Justice right now has filed an appeal against a conservative federal judge's ruling out of Texas suspending FDA approval for that abortion pill. Writing, in quote, if allowed to take effect, the court's order would thwart FDA's scientific judgment and severely harm women, particularly those for whom mifepristone is a medical or practical necessity. A Trump-appointed Texas judge ruled last Friday that the FDA improperly approved the pill 23 years ago, saying it ignored legitimate safety concerns about the drug.
We think that the judge totally got it right. The FDA has to go back. It has to be transparent with the public about the studies that it relied on to make its decisions, and it's got to follow the science.
Mifepristone is one of the safest and most effective medicines that we've seen over the last 20 years to help women with their health care, especially abortion care.
In the meantime, a Spokane federal judge blocked any changes to mifepristone's availability to the public in 17 states and the District of Columbia, where Democrats have sued. These cases are likely headed to the Supreme Court, where the conservative majority could decide.
So what does this all mean for people looking to get and use the medication? KREM 2 Shannon Mowdy checked in with Planned Parenthood in Spokane to get some answers tonight. Shannon?
Contradictory federal rulings have caused some confusion, and Planned Parenthood Washington is reviewing both to understand the impacts. However, mifepristone remains protected in Washington state, at least for now. Mifepristone is used in more than half of abortions nationwide. But that drug's FDA approval is now in the middle of a federal legal battle.
How can we allow an unelected judge to take that right of reproductive freedom away from the people of Washington state?
I find it ironic that yesterday I joined with millions of Christians across the globe to celebrate life, eternal life. Today, we're talking about a pill that is designed to end 30,000 lives within the womb.
Battle that's having impacts here in Washington state.
Yeah, a lot of it remains unclear, unfortunately, just with two separate federal rulings.
However, Sarah Dixit with Planned Parenthood says one thing is clear for now.
But what we know is that right now, the approval of mifepristone remains intact.
We know with the Department of Justice appealing the ruling in Texas, the debate could make it all the way to the Supreme Court. Dixit says there are options, even if mifepristone is ultimately banned.
Yeah, if it goes all the way up to being banned and mifepristone has its FDA approval removed, we can continue to provide medication abortion through misoprostol only.
That's the second drug in the combination used in medication abortions. Planned Parenthood says misoprostol-only abortions are 85 to 95% effective. Planned Parenthood Spokane saw an influx of patients after Idaho's abortion ban last summer, and they anticipate more people will turn to centers in Washington following Friday's rulings. Dixit says Washington leaders have made it clear this is a pro-reproductive freedom state. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.